If you're listening to this podcast, there's a good chance that you're a hunter or you just enjoy the great outdoors. If you value your ability to hunt, now is the time to step up. There have been countless efforts to vilify hunters and denounce the legitimacy of the science-based wildlife management model. There's no science to this stance, and it is solely emotionally charged. We don't want to see what happened with the grizzly hunt replay itself again with the remaining large carnivores or big game species. It's a slippery slope, folks. We need to stand together. Now is the time for hunters to be united across all organizations and show our combined support. Please go to wildsheepsociety.com/act now and follow the steps. It doesn't take much time and it will help save the future of hunting. This applies to residents and non-residents alike. Please, let's use our voice and be heard. On with the show, folks. This is episode 23 of the Wilderness Locals podcast. On this episode, I sit down with Mike Herne. Mike's a bowhunter, active duty ranger, writer, and photographer. This podcast is brought to you by Kifaru International, the toughest hunting gear on the planet, bar none. Frontiersman gear, high quality, completely custom handmade knives made in the heart of the Peace Country. Now, as always, we're brought to you by Just Shooting Arrows, BC's premier archery shop. You're in Colorado now.
Yep. Colorado Springs.
Nice. You, I think the last time I heard you on something was Kifaru Cast, and you were just getting ready to move.
Yeah. I was leaving Fort Knox, Kentucky, and coming out here to Fort Carson.
Nice. Are you guys all settled in now?
Yeah, for the most part. There's still a ton of shit we need to do, but with COVID, the military didn't give us any. Normally, when we PCS or we move, they give us, we can take up to like 30 days off. To do it, we got 3 days to drive halfway across the U.S. and get here.
What?
Both of us went right back to work. So, yeah.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah. So it's been a little bit of a shit show, but we're getting there.
Sounds like a windstorm. You guys are probably experts at moving, though, by the sounds of it, right?
Oh, yeah. So we've lived shit. So I started out in Vicenza, Italy after I joined the Army.
Oh, wild.
Went from Italy to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and then North Carolina to Georgia to Colorado to Kentucky, and now back to Colorado.
Wow. I mean, and I think on that other on Snyder's podcast, you said the goal was to end up in Colorado.
Yeah. No, I want to end up back out here because that's where Kifaru's at, and I'd like to eventually end up working for Aaron. So being kind of close helps.
Yeah, no doubt. He's a cool cat, and I think Colorado Springs is a pretty cool spot. I think Big Agnes is based out of there too, right?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question.
I think so. I don't know for sure, but I think so. It's I've actually in Colorado. I've only ever been to Denver, which sucks. I was there for work once. Are you from Kentucky originally?
No, I originally grew up in upstate New York. So, in the like Finger Lakes region. I don't know if you're familiar with New York, but Finger Lakes region, or probably about 100 miles south of Lake Ontario, really.
Cool.
So that's right. There's some pretty country up there, but the government sucks. So I will never go back.
It's a lot like Vancouver, I think, where BC is absolutely massive, and most of the decisions here are made by the 90% of the population that lives in 10% of the country, right? Or the province, anyways.
Yeah, absolutely. Same thing. New York City is the problem. It needs to be annexed.
Nice. So to kind of, I guess, get everybody up to speed that's listening to this thing, you're an active duty U.S. Army dude. You're an airborne ranger, right?
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Depends on who you talk to, because I'm ranger qualified, not. So in our Army, we've got U.S. Army Ranger School, which is a 62-day combat leadership course. And you earn the Ranger tab once you graduate the course.
Got
Then
it.
we have 3 Ranger battalions that they belong to Special Operations Command, and they're our premier. They are the world's premier raid force.
Cool.
But yeah, so if you're in one of the battalions, it depending on who you talk to, some of the guys at battalion get
Yeah.
upset when you call yourself a ranger but you don't have a scroll, and that's what the guys at battalion wear, a ranger scroll, and then they have to get a tab eventually. But so
Got it.
depends on who you talk to. Same thing.
Yeah,
But
yeah, got it. That's cool. I mean, it's all kind of it's all kind of French to us here in Canada.
yeah,
We don't kind of have the same. I mean, there is a little bit of a military culture here.
yeah,
It's not the same as the U.S. I mean, I love listening to Evan Hafer, and I mean, we just had Trevor Thompson on. Like when we had Trevor on, I'm like, I want to ask you a bunch of questions, but I'm not qualified to do it. I'm just going to keep listening
yeah, yeah.
on that stuff. So, you write for Black Rifle and Free Range American too, right?
Yep. Yeah, I write for
That's
Free Range American. Yeah, that's pretty much. They kind of took me on. I kind of got lucky. I pitched an article to a friend, and his wife happened to be one of the editors, and it was about hunting.
yeah.
And basically, I sent it to my buddy because he'd been published a bunch of times. It was an article about elk hunting, and he's like, "Well, I'll tell you what. My wife's an editor. I'm going to have her take a look at it, and then she'll give you some feedback." Never got any feedback, and I honestly expected the feedback to be like, "Hey, quit while you're fucking ahead, right? Like this is terrible." Um, and a few months later, she hit me up and she's like, "Hey, I write for, or I'm an editor for Black Rifle, and we want to publish this." I'm like, "Sweet." So I kind of kept going with it from there. I just didn't quit writing, and
Yeah,
so I was,
I'm enjoying the stuff that you're putting out, man. Like, I don't know, that one that you did about the Garmin Instinct. Yeah, I mean, it landed one of those things on my wrist, and that's a good tool.
yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Awesome. Good. Somebody's reading it. You're the first person
yeah,
I know
no,
that reads my shit.
no, I do. I get those. I get those emails from Free Range American, and usually I read the stuff that you put out. Not much else, but I read the stuff that you put out because it's
That's
cool.
good.
It's cool to go ahead.
I've been slacking on
Well,
that
it sounds
front.
like you got your hands full with moving and everything else,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
So kind of how we normally do this podcast is we kind of start these things out by saying like, who are you, what do you do, and how did you get started hunting? And we kind of covered you're Mike Herne, and
yeah,
you're a U.S. Army dude, and you're a writer.
yeah.
How'd you get started hunting?
Well, so I grew up hunting. I grew up in a super small town in rural New York. I think my graduating class was like 60 something people. So super, super country. Everyone, like all the surrounding towns, the bigger towns, always
Yeah.
joke about our town and say that's where the men are men and the sheep are scared. Um, but so I grew up there, and it was always kind of something like hunting was always something you did, but I never was passionate about it as a kid. And especially bow hunting. Like I shot a bow a few times. I was like, "Fuck this, give me a gun." But I killed a couple deer as a kid, but I didn't really get into it until like I didn't get serious about hunting, and I joined the military and really hadn't hunted since I was like 16. So I joined the military right before I turned 18, and then in 2013, and that was 2006. So probably 2004 was the last time I killed something prior to the
Oh, yeah.
military. So 2006, joined the military. Um, 2013, get stationed at Fort Benning, Georgia, and I started hunting again down there because they had a really good program and lots of access. Because prior to that, I'd been stationed on the East Coast, and there's not a lot of public land on the East Coast of the United States. And North Carolina there wasn't a lot of hunting. Europe, it's extremely expensive and hard to hunt because you can't
Yeah.
have firearms. So and it was just never really on my radar. But Fort Benning has a really good like hunting culture and a hunting program, and they try really hard to make it a good experience for the guys that are stationed there. So I started there, and then I kind of got the fever. I mean, I like the challenge. I like being in the outdoors. I never was into video games or any of that stuff, even photography, which we can get into later. Like I've always like I remember listening to Snyder talk about photography back in like 2017 and thinking, fuck that shit, that's gay. I'm not going to do that. And
Yeah.
now I've got thousands of dollars worth of camera gear, um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so Fort Benning's where it kind of all started for me. So that was 2013, and I decided to try bow hunting again just to kind of extend my season and areas I was able to hunt, because some areas on that installation or that army base was bow only, and so
Nice.
there'd be less people in it. Um, and
Yeah.
I picked up a bow, and I just liked the challenge of trying to get close, and I liked the fact that I could go shoot my bow in my backyard and practice, get proficient. So it's not a whole event, right? I don't have to, well,
Yeah.
now I do because I live in the big city, but but yeah, I can still shoot out to 20 yards in my yard. So I can still work on the basics. Whereas,
Yeah.
with a rifle, it's an event. You got to go out to a range. You got to spend a bunch of, I mean, if you're trying to sight in hunting ammo, you got to spend a bunch of money, especially if you're collecting dope at various ranges. It just gets
Yep.
expensive. So archery seemed like a less expensive thing and a little bit more easily accessible as far as like range time went. So that's kind of
Yeah.
how archery started. But
It's
um,
like archery. I mean, archery is one of those slippery slopes, right? It seems like, oh, it won't be that bad initial investment, and that's it, and then it gets wild. I
yeah,
mean,
it
you
does. It
can
gets out of
spend.
control real fast.
Oh man, I know. I like sometimes I look at the wall. I'm like, why do I have so many bows? Like,
Yeah,
what is going on in here? Like, it looks like an archery shop.
yeah,
Um, but no, man, you're totally right. That's one of the things that like made me dive so headfirst into archery was just like just walk outside in my pajamas in the middle of the night and shoot my bow if I want. Like it's
yeah, absolutely.
no big deal. Like me and my eldest daughter, we shoot every day in the backyard. Nobody says anything. It's rad.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, man. So what was it? Fort Benning. It was. Do you see Fort Benning was the one that?
Yep, yep.
So what can you chase out there?
So you can kill wild pigs year round, which is
Not.
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, I saw a post you made the other day about chasing pigs, and you said it's like I can't remember the wording that you used, but basically the amount of reps that you could get in just did wonders for your bow hunting game.
Yeah, yeah, and I think honestly I think the military did a little bit of that, like going to sniper school and various other courses that kind of teach you about camouflage and like I've been to a couple courses, sniper school included, where you have to stalk a trained observer. So a guy sitting there with a set of binos and he's actively trying to find you while you're trying to stalk up, get in a position, take the shot. So that helped, but then just being able you really learn a lot about animal behavior. And pigs, they're super smart, but they're not
Yeah,
as predator adverse as like a whitetail, right? Like whitetail, you see a group of whitetail that's feeding, one's always got their head up. Like somebody's always pulling security, looking for danger. Whereas pigs, it doesn't have like if they're eating, they're all their heads are down. So
yeah,
they're just a little bit easier to stalk, but yeah, that definitely like just being able to get that many reps because you can hunt them year round,
that's
and
wicked.
there was a metric shitload of them on Fort Benning. So, um,
So that's how you were doing the work,
yeah,
getting her down. That's cool, man. There is allegedly there's wild pigs out here, but I mean, in like my like 70 days a year in the field, I have yet to see one in the flesh. So I don't know.
yeah.
Maybe I'm not.
I actually got interviewed by I don't know where she was. I don't know what she was out of. She was a friend of a mutual friend, but she's a Canadian, and she interviewed me about wild pigs and all that stuff going on. She was doing it for a news story somewhere in Canada
Huh.
about their pig problem. So That was only a
Yeah,
couple years ago.
I'm my field of view is very narrow. I'm like, if it's not BC or Alberta, I kind of don't know. And
Yeah.
I should broaden it out a bit. I mean, like, I apply for some tags and stuff back east, but they're like, you know, 1,000,000 to 1 or draw or something. So I just don't really pay attention. If it comes up, I'll learn the
Yeah,
rigs up
but
there.
I
But
mean,
yeah,
yeah, and you got BC and Alberta. I mean, those are on my bucket list.
yeah, man.
So
We I was actually just looking at our like kind of hosting non-resident sort of routine here, and I didn't realize it, but we're not allowed to host anybody that's not Canadian as like a Canadian, as a BC resident. We can only host other Canadians. So I was
oh
thinking
really?
about, yeah, I was thinking about maybe hosting Jared from Tolkien. Um, but yeah, I can't do it if he's an alien. We can do it in Alberta, I think, but not BC.
See, that's weird. Yeah, so you guys kind of have that weird rule where if they're not local, like we have non-resident, right? Like
Yeah.
non-residents have to pay out the ass, and sometimes depending on the state, you kind of get the shit end of the stick as a non-resident as far as draws go. But
Yeah.
it's really not hard to be able to hunt in different states. It's just a little bit more expensive.
Oh, I know. It's unreal. I'm collecting points in a bunch of states that I've like never even stepped foot in. Um, like you guys are just like, yeah, sure, let her rip over the counter, no problem. You don't even live here.
Mm-hmm.
In
Yeah,
BC,
yeah,
it's like you can't hunt anything in BC without paying a guide.
yeah, yeah. See, that's the hard part. I guess
I don't know.
Alaska's like that. Alaska, there you can hunt certain things, but I think you
Yeah,
gotta for Doll sheep. Like I'll probably never be able to hunt Doll sheep because I'm not a millionaire. And
yeah,
you got to pay a guide. So Doll sheep, goat, and I think brown bear, are the three. There might be one more, but you can go up there and hunt moose and caribou and deer and everything else. Black bear, you don't need a guide for any of that.
yeah. Over the counter. Eh?
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. Yeah. So I mean, it sounds like you've done some pretty cool hunts, and I know you're pretty experienced elk hunter. I have a photo here of you hanging onto an elk. What are some of your favorite things to chase?
Right now, I would say elk. So um, when I was leaving Fort Benning, the reason I came to Colorado was to hunt elk. I wanted to kill an elk. So that's kind of what I focused on.
I
So
feel
I
like that's
left
a really good
Benning.
reason.
Yeah. I mean, I completely altered the course of my military career, and I'm still kind of doing it to stay out west.
I heard you saying that on Kafaru and I feel like you caught yourself halfway through and you're like, oh shit, I shouldn't say that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, so elk are probably my favorite. I haven't really I've hunted mule deer. I've been in Nebraska a couple times to hunt mule deer, but it was always a late December archery hunt, so they're all herded up. It's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, a lot of
I haven't
eyeballs.
killed a yeah, it's a lot of eyeballs. I haven't killed a deer yet, but um yeah, so elk, and then I'm gonna try to I guess I'm gonna start rifle hunting this year. I haven't really rifle hunted at all out west. So I think I'm gonna put in for a rifle mule deer tag this year and
Cool.
give it a shot just because it's hard. Every archery season comes up and I'm like, all right, get an elk tag for sure, but do I want to get a deer tag too? And I always end up not getting a deer tag just because I know I'm ADD and I'm going to be fucking half-ass trying to hunt both and not kill either. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that happens to me in BC because all of our seasons kind of run simultaneously. Like everything sort of opens September 1 and closes at the same time, basically. And I mean, mule deer here runs a little longer, and there's a little bit of variance to it, but I'm in the same boat, man. I need to just pick a species and lock on until I get it done, until I kill something.
yeah, yeah. So that's my plan for now. So that's why I'm going to pick up the rifle though. So I'll do archery elk this year, and
Yeah.
then I'm going to do archery pronghorn. I've never hunted them.
They're cool, man. I saw
They,
pronghorn for the first time last year in Alberta when we were chasing mule deer. Man, those things are weird. Like they can't jump. They crawl under fences. They're bizarre.
Mm-hmm. But they can run fast as shit and see like 180 degrees.
Okay, I got a quick story. I keep getting sidetracked here talking about my own stuff, but you'll like this one, okay? So me, Wasey, and Chad, we're in southern Alberta, and Waste Dog's hosting us there, and we keep seeing pronghorn, and it's like kind of the pronghorn season had just ended. And it's like major limited entry. There's like an 8-year tag to draw or something, but apparently it's like super hard to get close to these things. And I just kept talking crap to AC. I'm like, dude, I could sneak up on those things, no problem. Like he's like, do it then. And I have this little like mini trophy truck thing that we rip around in out there, and we're bombing around, and we roll up, and these speed goats are like, I don't know, couple 100 yards away, and they're like running towards us, and I'm like, hey, stop the truck. And I just start hammering on an elk cow call, like almost like a crow call, and dude, they just stopped dead in their tracks and like walked to me.
Really?
Dude, so I'm telling you, just hammer a crow call at speed goats, they'll come to you.
Yeah, I might have to try that.
I'll text you this video. It's so funny. You'll be like, what the hell?
I may have to try that. That sounds like a fun camp with old Waste Dog. He's a funny motherfucker.
Oh, dude, he's good, man. He's the best. That's sort of part of like this whole podcast thing is me and him would do this every day anyways, like whenever either of us gets in the car, you just phone each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talk crap for an
I tried getting him. I told him he needs to come down here for that Best of the West shoot that they did last year, like Snyder and Luke and them. I told him he needs to come down here, and we're just going to go up there and get shit faced and lose all our arrows and just fucking talk shit the whole time.
You know what's funny about that is Wasey would still probably clean up. Like the guy is as humble as it gets, but he's an ace with that stick, man.
No shit.
Yeah, dude.
That's awesome.
And for a big boy, he's a ninja, like we're in Alberta, and he's sneaking up to does and tapping them with his bow. Like,
That's awesome.
Dude's wild. Oh man. So elk this year, you're going to chase him with a rifle, eh?
Yeah. Deer with a rifle. So I'll do archery pronghorn. Yeah. I'll do archery pronghorn, archery elk. I think I'm going to get a rifle deer tag, and then maybe try to get a Colorado whitetail tag too. But I don't know.
What's whitetail like in Colorado?
I don't know. Honestly, I haven't seen a lot of them. So they hang out kind of in the lower land areas near like the ag fields, the places where you'd expect to see whitetail. But I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to hunt turkey too. Turkey's getting ready to open up, but I'll give that a shot. And then I've got a buddy down in Texas, so we'll go down there. He's got a big ranch, so we'll just go down there. It's not even hunting, but it's stock in the freezer. So
it's all good.
But yeah, I'm gonna try to kind of broaden my horizons and pick up the rifle this year, just so I get. And I might even try to bow hunt and then pull the rifle out if I'm sucking. But because Colorado's archery season, basically pronghorns opens August 15th, and then elk season's like September 2nd to the 28th, and then it's over. You don't have shit else to do. So if you don't draw rifle tags, so I'm trying to stay local and not travel as much. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, well, you just traveled across the country with your house, so I don't blame you.
Yeah. Well, shit, and that's the second time that's the third time I've done that drive this year, because I drive out here every year for elk. So
yeah,
I drive all here and then drive all the way back to Kentucky. Yeah, so that's a 18-hour drive.
So you've got a couple elk on the ground with the bow now, right?
Yep. Yeah.
When did you cut that first tag?
So my first archery elk season was 2017, and so I did all this to get stationed here, and then deployed and didn't get to hunt the first season I was here. And I was only here for 2 seasons. So 2017 was my first season. I killed that bull. I called him in, and I actually missed him at 40 yards, and then called him back into 24 yards and killed him. But I killed him in like the last 10 minutes of light on the last day of the hunt. Like we were driving off that mountain that night.
That,
So that was definitely a struggle and a learning experience. And then my next season was way easier. We each had, me and my buddy. Well, between the two of us, we had 2 bulls. And my buddy shot a 170-inch mule deer, and that was all by September 2nd because it was under the old big game season.
oh, really?
So now the season starts on September 2nd, and then the past 2 seasons have kind of sucked. We've been sucking a little bit.
It happens, but I mean, it sounds like you were off to a great start there.
Yeah,
I'm just looking at photos of these bulls, and they're pretty killer bulls coming out of Colorado, eh?
yeah.
I mean,
Yes,
don't tell don't tell
some.
Aaron I said that.
Yeah, he'll get pissed. There's some good bulls out here. I just saw the guy that sent my bow up last night. I went to his place, and he's an old retired Army guy, and he's a part owner of one of the local archery shops here. And I went over to his place, and he showed me the bull he killed. He killed a bull in 2011, and it's a 370-inch bull, and it's just fucking massive. Like I couldn't stop looking at it. Like that's all I wanted to do was stare at that bull.
Man. Some of those big bulls are just mind blowing when you see them. My buddy, a buddy of mine, Travis, up here, shot a 365 out of BC out of a unit that doesn't produce that big of elk, and this thing is just like jaw hits the floor.
That's awesome.
So wicked. Man, yeah. So you're actually deep down the rabbit hole. I saw you picked up a new PSE.
I did. Yep.
Coming off the Hoyt,
man. And I'm telling you, I was like, I ordered it in 80 pounds, and I was like, I don't know if I should have done that because I'm short. I'm 5'5". I'm 5'5", right? And I like to shoot a heavier arrow. And so I was like, well, fuck, this bow's not. Its IBO speeds weren't as fast as my RX3. So I was like, hey, I'll just get it in 80 pounds and we'll see what happens. If I need to, I can back the limb bolts out a little bit. And I drew that thing back the first time with the limb bolts all the way down, and it was fucking smooth. That thing, I'm super happy with it.
Yeah, that Evolve camo on the PSC is very good. It's it's real smooth, and yeah, like you're saying, I think the one that I had, I think it was 75 or 70 pounds. And yeah, no, it doesn't feel like it. You can hang on to that thing all day.
Yeah, and that's so being a short guy. Like every bow I've owned, including PSC, I stopped. I think I started with PSC. Like I bought my first bow was a PSC Stinger, and then
that's everybody's first bow.
Yeah. So that was my first bow, and then I had the PSC DNA Smooth Pole back in like 2013 or 2014, and man, that fucking bow and every bow after it, because I'm so short, the mods are so far back, right? Because I'm shooting anywhere between 26 and 27 inches, depending on the axle to axle length. Like right now, I'm at 26 and a half, and it's perfect. But because I don't get that full cam rotation, like the valley is so small that those cams just want to run, and it's constantly trying to jerk out. So I have to really put a lot of back tension into it, which fatigues me really quick. So that's kind of why I was worried about an 80-pound bow, because that's what I'm used to. That's literally every bow I've owned has been like that. And this PSE is not like that. And I'm shooting it at 80% let off too, because that's the law here. And even at 80% let off. So I'm not getting as much rotation out of that cam and module as I can. And it still just holds so solid.
I was just going to ask, you can't run that bow at 90% let off.
Nope. It's got to be 80 in Colorado.
Huh. That's interesting. I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I have a little bit longer of a draw than you, but I do get jealous of my buddies there. My one buddy has like a 32.5-inch draw or something stupid. He's like shooting like 600 grain missiles out of his bow. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I'd be happy with like being somewhere in the middle, but because I feel like that 29 inch is like 28, 29 is perfect because then you don't have to have long
Yep.
arrows, so you don't have to worry about like running out of stiff spine
Yeah.
and so I feel like you kind of get the best of both worlds. But I'm on the midget end of the scale, so here we are.
Yeah. I'm a like 27 and a half, 28-inch draw guy. So I have
Yeah,
like an inch on you, but I think that 29 inch is the sweet spot. I'm jealous of those
yeah,
dudes.
for sure, for
What
sure.
what are you shooting for an arrow?
So I don't know what I'm gonna shoot because normally, so I've shot Black Eagle for my whole archery career. I started out with the carnivores, and then that's what I killed my first animal with was the Black Eagle carnivore, and then I upgraded to the rampages and the half outs that they had for the rampages at the time. They hadn't come out with the focus system, that front of center outsert system. So
Yep.
those half outs were just a pain in the ass to get to spin true.
Yeah.
So I went from the rampages to the deep impacts, and that's what I've been shooting, the deep impacts. And now that they have the front of center outsert system, I might go back to the rampages. But the arrows I have are 350 spine. I definitely need a 300, and Black Eagle is sold out of the 300s in both of those.
Yeah.
So
I
luckily, oh, go ahead.
so no, go ahead. Go ahead.
As I say, luckily Snyder is a generous man, and he's got a few dozen. So I think he's gonna let me buy a couple dozen off him.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I do at this time of year is I just buy a couple dozen of whatever setup I'm running on each of my bows and call it good.
How many bows you got?
Um, well, I usually just set up one compound and one stick bow right now.
Okay.
That's what I'm doing this year. Rather, normally I have two compounds up, just one main bow, and I inevitably break something in season. So I Snyder was teasing the shit out of me about just selling my compounds and dedicating myself to the stick bow, which I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going to do because I want to kill stuff.
Yeah.
But I figure when I, fall and bust the sight off of my Matthews this year, I'll just go right to the stick bow. So I'm
Yeah,
just setting
yeah,
out.
yeah. That's a good plan. This is the first year in my archery career I've had two bows. So normally, because I'm a cheap fuck and Uncle Sam doesn't pay me for shit, I normally if I want to upgrade, I will sell my bow. Like I'll sell it at the end of the season and then
Yeah.
buy one off of Archery Talk after all the new bows have come out. Because buy like an older year model, like the last
Yep.
year's model off Archery Talk. That
Yeah.
was my go-to scheme for getting a new bow when I wanted one.
It's not a bad move. I mean, I normally, I kind of do the same thing, right? Like I grab a new bow every season and I just sell last year's as soon as the new bows come out. And
Mhm.
it seems to cost me like whatever, a couple $100 a year, something like that.
Yeah. Well, what sucks about bows, I'll tell you this, it fucking pisses me off. The resale value on those motherfuckers is so bad. Like
Yeah.
stick bows hold their value because they're like works of art, right? If you get, depending on what bow you buy, right? But if you're
Yeah.
buying
Yeah.
it seems like if you buy like a Black Widow, I don't really know a whole lot about them, but I've looked at buying them. And you buy like a Black Widow or like a Bobbly or whatever, or a stalker, like the
Yep.
handmade wood bows.
Yep.
Those
Yep.
things, those things hold their value, but a compound is worth fuck all the next year.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I had been shooting a stalker and, my hunting partner Chad keeps stealing my wood bows. He got bit by the traditional archery bug real hard, and he's like he's just freaking stacking the things up now. He's got a Tolkien and a stalker, and I'm sure there's another one in the works. But he's
Nice,
like
nice.
he's completely bypassed the compound thing. He's just going for it. He's bringing it on a archery goat hunt this August with us. So
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, it'll be really cool,
I'm
man.
I'm not there yet. I don't own a traditional bow. I've looked at them and I've shot a few fucking around with my buddies in camp, like old stick bow Greg. Um, I've
Yeah, I
shot
can't wait
his a
to have
few
him on.
times.
He seems like a cool cat. I actually
Dude,
haven't even
he's
talked to him yet.
he's one of the most interesting men in the world. He does it all. Like he fucking fishes, hunts, traps. He's a fucking he's an old school outdoorsman in a 30-year-old's body.
That's rad. Well, if I convince him to come on, I'll have you on at the same time, and you guys can
Oh, that'll be fun.
Yeah, that's the way to do it, I think. But that'd
He'll
be
get
cool. Yeah,
berated a lot.
yeah,
Poor guy.
he looks like he does pretty good with that stick bow too. It looks like he killed a nice whitetail
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, he did. I think that's his biggest whitetail ever. And
Nice.
yeah, he was super pumped when I was pumped for him when we got the text.
That's awesome. So it looks like you have a gang of whitetail on your page here.
Yeah, I've killed quite a few. Yeah. My biggest one was, I don't know if how far back you're looking, but my biggest whitetail was I've hunted them in Texas, but that doesn't really count. And back home as a kid, but my biggest one was back 2019 was my biggest one with the bow.
Yeah, I think I'm looking at that one in Fort Knox, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, on Fort Knox during gun season too.
That's wicked. Yeah, actually, you are wearing the orange. That's wild.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a pretty tough hunt? And I think you guys were talking about it on Kafaru Cast. I think like anybody can go hunt Fort Knox. It's just you have to like get approved, right?
Yeah, so you gotta get your background check and kind of get your visitor's pass to get in and out of the on and off the installation or the base.
Yeah, Wasey's out then.
Yep. Yeah. If he's a felon, he's fucked.
Yeah.
But other than that, you gotta have your weapons registered and you gotta follow a few extra rules. But Fort Knox does a really good job of managing their whitetail for trophy quality. They've got some. I think there was some deer pushing 180 inches that were taken off of there this year. So
That's awesome.
I did not take a 180 incher off there, but some guys did. But I got a good buddy that he is a deer killing machine. His name's Robbie Amons. And he is a whitetail killing machine. I mean, he killed a gross score like 201-inch whitetail on Fort Knox with his bow. But
wow.
He's always talking shit to me when I see him out, kind of like we'll be driving out for lunch or something and run into each other. He'd be like, "Well, did you get one today, Bo?" And I'd be like, "No." He's old country boy. He's a Kentucky boy. So you get one today, Bo? I'm like, "Nope." And he's like, "That's what you get for bow hunting the gun season." He's like, "Once the gun season opens up, this time to grab the old slug gun and get out there." But he always gives me a rash of shit because I'll bow hunt through the gun season.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like here, it's funny here in BC, our archery season's 9 days. So we're like, we're out there with bows all the time and we're hearing gunshots. Sucks.
Yeah.
So I feel
that's a short archery season.
Yeah. There's not quite the bow hunting culture like there is, in some of the places in the US. That being said, though, the gun opportunity here is like astounding. It's like September 10th to December 20th, I think.
God dang, yeah.
It's mostly a 4-point season for like mule deer, for example. And then all of October before the rut is any buck. So like, I think the majority of the deer that get taken near the end of October. And then then it switches back to 4-point for doing the rut. And a lot of areas that the deer start to move into winter in will have a rut closure. So you can't even hunt them during the rut in a lot of places, right? But like I don't even think there's like limited entry for mule deer in BC. Like I think everything's over the counter except for does.
Really?
Yeah.
So you guys have they're trying to grow the population or?
Yeah, I guess, man. Like, there's no shortage of deer here. Like if you talk to dudes from BC, you'll get, all different perspectives because hunting in BC is tough just because of the terrain, in my opinion. Like it's like you have rainforest on the coast, you have desert in between, then you get into like super thick, dense forest and, alpine and everything in between. Right. And, I don't know. I think our deer herds here are pretty killer and doing well. But you will hear guys be like, "Oh, the deer are herding. There's no deer left," and it's like, "Well, they're not on the road, man."
Yeah, that's true. That's
So,
true.
yeah. So, are you? Now that you're out in Colorado, you have a lot more opportunity. It sounds like.
Yeah. So, it's kind of weird. So I have more opportunity to chase different species, but
Yeah.
I also lose um, time in the field, right? Because out east, like the Western United States is a completely different animal from the Midwest and the Eastern United States. Because basically, in let's say, well, I'll use Kentucky as an example, right? And most Eastern states are like this. You buy a hunting license or you buy a deer license, right? And with that
Yeah.
license, it's good for whatever you get. You have a bag limit with that license, be it $1 and 2 does or $2. Like Georgia, for example, you can kill $2 and 10 does.
Oh wow.
Um, yeah. So you buy that license, you spend that 30 or $40, however much the license costs. You buy a license and you can hunt from the opening of archery season all the way until I think early January, right? The season never closes. The weapon systems authorized just change. So you've got archery season, and then you get about a month of archery season, and then you'll get a week of muzzleloader, and then you'll get a couple weeks of rifle, depending on the state, and it'll stay rifle, and then it might go back to a late archery or a late muzzleloader to kind of close out the season. So and being like at Knox, so I was 30 minutes away from some of the spots where I could just go get up in a tree and whitetail hunt. And now
Mm-hmm.
to kind of get out there, I'm driving at least an hour to like my turkey spot's an hour and a half away from here. So I got a little bit of a drive to do, and then I have got a short art. Well, it's a 30-ish day, a little bit like 28-day archery season, and then everything closes. And if you don't have a tag for first rifle season, then you can't hunt first rifle season, and that's a week long season, and then everything closes again. And then it opens up a few like a week later for second rifle season, then everything closes again, and it opens up. And so it goes on. It goes on like that all the way through fourth rifle. So um, I have opportunity of more species, but my time in the field is a little bit more limited unless I can travel. Which being in the military, it's a little bit tougher to travel. So I usually
Yeah.
and elk hunting sucks. So um, that's usually where I spend my kind of if I got vacation time, I kind of take it and put it all into killing an elk or trying to kill an elk, and then kind of the rest of the season I just get in what I can fit in basically. But so
Yeah.
it's super easy at Knox, right? I travel out here for 20 days to hunt elk, and then I go back to Knox and I can get off of work. I can leave work just a little bit early and be in a tree stand and plenty of time to kill a whitetail. So, and I can
Mm-hmm.
do that from freaking whenever I get back from elk season all the way until middle of January. So it's a little different. I got more opportunity at animals, and again, that's why I think I'm going to put in for a rifle tag this year, is just so
Yeah.
I can get out and kind of maximize my time.
Yeah.
You can
That makes
definitely kill
sense.
more animals out here. You definitely can kill more animals here versus Knox. You got two doe and a buck. Well, you could kill $2 and 4 doe on Fort Knox. So,
That's wild.
um, but here, I could, if I don't fuck it up, I can kill an antelope, an elk. I can shoot a cow during a rifle season if I can draw a rifle cow tag. I can shoot a mule deer buck, whitetail. So you do get more opportunity at different species.
Yeah. And what about like surrounding states for like so a dude that's in Colorado Springs, I mean, you're surrounded by western states that all have seasons that you can work off of too, right? Like
Yeah. Yep.
going over to Utah or Wyoming or something like that.
Yeah, Utah. So I don't know a whole lot about Utah. New Mexico, just south of us, they're 100% random draw, and I mean, I think they allot more of their draw tags to residents than non-residents, but it's 100% random draw, so you're not paying for preference points.
That's the same as BC.
Yeah, which is nice, right? Because Colorado has a preference point system, and there's some units in Colorado that, because people, I was really hoping that COVID would probably take some of these old timers out that had all these preference points saved up and help get rid of the point creep. I know it's bad to say. I probably shouldn't have said that out loud, but
hold on, wrong button. I missed
I like the first one, but
yeah.
But yeah, so New Mexico's nice for that because you can put in for tags, and it's purely a draw system.
Yeah.
And if you get drawn, you can go down there and get after it. Wyoming is a preference point state, but I think they manage their state a little bit better. So I don't think as a non-resident I could hunt in Wyoming every year. I haven't really looked into Montana. Kansas is pretty dang good for whitetail, and then Nebraska. Well, I don't want to talk about Nebraska. It's kind of a fuck it. I'll tell everybody. So Nebraska's awesome.
Well, I think when Jake Downs was on, he was talking about Nebraska quite a bit, right?
Yeah. I don't know what he talks about Nebraska, but Nebraska is a pretty cool state because for a non-resident, right, there's not as much public land, right? Nebraska's kind of in that Midwest versus being a Western state. So you don't have as much public land, you don't have as much public access, but for $245, you can buy an archery deer tag, and it's either sex, either species. So
people in Nebraska are screaming into their dash of their car right now.
I'm doing it a little bit too, but it's either sex, either species for $245, and you can hunt those motherfucker. You can hunt from early September all the way into January. Like you can hunt Nebraska's structured more like an eastern state where if you got an archery, you buy that archery tag, you can archery hunt the entire season. And that season, when it opens for archery, then rolls into muzzleloader, then a short rifle season, and then back into archery or a late muzzleloader. So
that's
but you can run around with your bow the whole time. You just got to throw orange on if it's muzzleloader or rifle. So that's a super good deal for what it is. But public access is the hard part. You can't just camp. Like you have to find like legit, like you have to pay if you're going to camp up there. You have to find a campsite and pay to camp there, stay in a hotel. You can't just pull off the side of the road because there's not a ton of national forests. So a lot more limited access, but it's a pretty cool state. And that's why I've been able to go up there and chase deer. I'm always hyper focused on elk in the early season. So, and then by the time I get Christmas leave, I'm like, all right, I'm going to go to Nebraska for 4 days and try to kill a mule deer. And then there's 20 of them that I can't stalk. So,
man, like you guys talk about, like, in the US outing their own state, like, oh, there's good hunting here, and everybody gets upset. Like you hear Aaron joke about it all the time on Kafaru Cast, right? But like,
oh yeah,
man, the photos that you guys post of Colorado, like, I mean, I'm from BC and I'm like, man, I want to go to Colorado.
Yeah, so it is fucking beautiful. And there is so the thing with Colorado though is, in Aaron's defense, like Wyoming is if you want to go kill elk, Wyoming is a better state. Like the success rates are higher, I think, than in Colorado because Colorado is so easily accessible.
How come you're winking when you say that?
Because I mean, I got a twitch.
I'm just kidding.
I drank too much coffee today.
Wyoming's way better. Go there.
No, but I think honestly, like your harvest percentages, I think, are higher in Wyoming. The thing that sucks about Wyoming is, in order to go into the wilderness areas, you have to be with a resident or a guide.
Yeah.
But Colorado, it's fucking crowded, dude. It's a zoo, which it's a good thing, right? I'm happy that it's there. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have been able to elk hunt the last few years, because I can just get an over the counter tag and come out here and get the experience versus kind of waiting to draw points and missing out on a year of fucking up in front of elk, you know?
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, I'm guilty of it too. Like you'll very rarely hear me say the name of anywhere in BC. You know what I mean? I've kind of like on this thing, we kind of have like a hard and fast rule of no spot burns. Like don't even say what unit you're in, like what management unit you're in or anything like that. Like
no, I absolutely won't.
I think the most I say is just like southern BC, southeastern BC, like just because otherwise, I don't know, your spot gets blown up and that's all bad.
Yeah. And I mean, I know a guy and I don't know how he does it and I don't know how much time it takes him to do it, but this guy had pinpointed, like had showing me the Google Earth imagery and then showing me the imagery from the fucking video from like where Corey Jacobson killed his elk in Montana. And then from where the born and raised dudes killed their elk in Colorado. Like, and he like that fucking, he's not like, he's wrong. He's not wrong. It's the same fucking spot. Like I'm looking at the screenshot from the video and I'm looking at Google Earth from the same person. I'm like, holy fuck. It's like, how did you figure that out? He's like, these guys keep talking about what elevation they're at. And then I just look at the terrain and figure, I'm like, I don't even want to know how long that takes you. But
man, so I don't know how much of like the sheep hunting culture you've looked at here in BC. Those dudes are hardcore. Like, I mean, they say there's no better liar than a sheep hunter. But those guys are like scouring the internet for photos of sheep on all the different forums and Facebook and Instagram and everything else, and just like picking them apart. Same thing. And like, man, those guys are intense. Like they make elk guys look like no big deal, you know?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That's well, and cheap too, right? Because they're kind of up in the air, so you kind of get that skyline view, and
yeah,
that makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah, you often see photos, and you're like, "Oh, I know what range that is." I was just talking to somebody the other day about an archery sheep unit here that's over the counter, and he was sending photos, and like he's like, "Oh, that's that mountain. That's that mountain. That's that little rock there. Everybody knows where that is." You know what I mean? It's I don't know. I often want to like take videos and stuff of our hunts because they're super fun and just BSing with your buddies and stuff like that. Be super cool. And I'm like, I'm unwilling to like give up my spots. Like I don't even like posting photos on Instagram before I'm hunting,
Yeah.
Stresses me out.
It is stressful. For sure. I just signed on with a production company and we want to do an elk hunt this year, and they're going to come out with me. Well, the camera guy is one of the series producers going to come out with me. And I'm like, fuck, all right. So like I'm already thinking in my head, like, because you gotta have some pretty scenery, but you gotta figure out a way to shoot non-identifiable terrain features.
Yeah. Like, and how do you do that?
Yeah.
That's like you see these dudes doing hunting videos now and like, okay, here's our drone shot of where we are. Like, what? No, you couldn't pay me to get that from me. Like, man, I don't know. That's like, I often wonder how many dudes are picking up spots from like Meat Eater and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how the fuck these guys have time to do that, really.
Yeah, like, that's true. That's true too.
I don't know how they have the time to do it because I definitely, well, I would love to know where some of these dudes are killing elk at. Like, I don't have the fucking time.
It's almost easier to learn how to kill elk on your own.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's definitely almost easier.
Yeah,
way easier.
Awesome. But, so I definitely want to circle back and check in back with you after this 2021 season and hear about how you cut all of those Colorado tags, man.
Yeah, let's do it. It'll be interesting. We'll see how we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Elk season.
Let
I'm optimistic for elk season this year. Antelope, I
yeah.
have no clue where the fuck I'm going to hunt at. So, well, I have an idea of where I want to hunt, but I really don't know the terrain, and it's my first time chasing them, and it's definitely OTC public land. And then deer's going to be the same thing.
Just pull up in a raptor and hammer a crow call. I'm telling you.
I guess that's all I got to do. And then or get some horses. Snyder hid behind a horse.
Maybe
a horse call. And a crow call.
Yeah, dude, horse crow call, your money. Like, I'm gonna send you that video after we hang up. If I can find it, you'll laugh.
You need to.
I texted Wasey when we were going here, and he's not allowed to come on and play with us right now. So, well, next time you're on, we'll get him on too, and he'll tell you that story. It blew his mind because he lives out there, right? He's like, "What the hell?"
Yeah, we'll have to do it on a weekend where we can slug back some bourbon.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Get real rowdy.
Yeah, I'm already going to have to put that explicit tag on this one, but that's okay.
Oh, my bad. You could have told me not to swear.
Oh, it's okay. It's all good. I'm just, yeah, no, it's all good, man. Okay, well, Mike, hey, man, thanks so much. Yeah, I get it. Thanks so much for coming on, man. And we'll, let's stay in touch, and we'll check back in with you here in a little while.
Cool, man. Appreciate you having me.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. If you enjoyed it, subscribe and follow us on Instagram at Wilderness Locals, or check out the gear at our website, www.wildernesslocals.net.